We all have those games that we keep installed, even when they're making us miserable. It's that perfect mix of one more turn and why is everything on fire? Today, we're looking at a few titles that you can replay again and again. Let's dive in. Some maps are so huge, they actually feel dangerous. Most open worlds spam icons, but here, the horizon means something is about to flatten you. It's this killer loop of exploring structures, getting lost in areas, and stumbling into nightmarish bosses. Losing everything to a bad jump sucks, but that's the beauty of it. You grab powerful gear and figure out how to survive. Combat is tough and deliberate. No button mashing, because the stamina bar will punish you. Underground sections just keep going on and on. One minute you're somewhere familiar, next you're staring at something completely different. It's dense, often confusing, and doesn't care if you're struggling. There's tons of replayability, with different builds keeping it going for hundreds of hours. Perfect time sink if you love getting kicked around, but winning eventually.
Its legions had pierced the heart of the northern realms.
Riding into villages where monster problems pale compared to politics is a standard experience here. You're a professional mutant doing jobs involving more investigation than actual combat. The world feels massive and lived in because every task leads somewhere meaningful. Simple contracts become moral nightmares where nobody actually wins, and you're constantly preparing for fights that'll wreck you if you forget basics. Combat has a rhythmic flow until you're surrounded and realize your armor is useless. You have to use your signs, those little bursts of magic, just to stay upright while managing a stamina bar that always seems to empty at the worst time. People joked about how you're supposed to be saving the world, but you'd rather spend 5 hours playing a card game in a dusty tavern. It's a dense affair, it's often incredibly bleak, and it's one of the few places where your choices actually come back to haunt you when you least expect it.
The desert is mostly brown and empty, but it's the only place where a conversation about water rights feels as dangerous as a gunfight. Being a courier means you're already part of the world's grime before anything starts. The reputation system is a headache in the best way. Helping one group makes another want you dead. You're constantly checking whose territory you're wandering into. Survival mode is where it comes together. Managing your needs turns every trek into resource hell. Panic hits you when you're limping somewhere with injuries because healing doesn't work the same anymore. You constantly rely on scraps and improvised fixes to reach the next outpost. It's buggy, heavy, and restricted, but nothing else captures that feeling of being a small, disposable part of a much larger, uglier war. Night 7 means everything. Every zombie in the county magically knows your location. Scavenging barely keeps you ahead of the death timer, and your concrete shelter collapses at midnight because of structural flaws. The crafting system requires being architect and scavenger simultaneously. You have to balance hunger, thirst, and infection while building stuff from garbage. Physics are temperamental. Spend hours building something tall only for it to collapse because you removed one wrong piece. It's rough, the animations are stiff, and certain threats are a total nightmare. But that clock pressure means you're never safe at home.
Now we are survivors.
We built my... Your colonist snaps and torches supplies over cramped quarters. 3 people and hope become huts and graves. The storyteller system throws disasters your way the second things look comfortable, creating messy catastrophes where your key person gets injured and you're scrambling with whoever's left. Base building is constant struggle against environment and colonist stupidity. Managing everything while one electrical problem turns your entire storage into a furnace. Grim satisfaction comes from surviving harsh stretches on scraps, and you make cold, tactical decisions about who gets medicine or whose body parts are worth more than their work. It's ugly, chaotic, and it's one of those games where failing is usually more interesting than actually succeeding. Building a factory starts simple, but becomes a full-time job managing interconnected chaos. The whole loop is fixing one problem, only to realize you've accidentally created 3 more downstream. You'll spend forever getting something working, look up, and everything else collapsed. It gets in your head. The real spike comes when production gets complicated. Suddenly, you're juggling systems where one backup stalls everything. It's a massive difficulty spike that usually sends folks packing. But if you push through, you get to play with the big toys like trains and nuclear reactors. Logistics become the actual challenge. You'll stare at setups, just trying to figure out why something broke, only to find one error hidden far away. It's relentless and completely indifferent to your frustration. Dropping into hostile caves with other idiots and heavy equipment turns suicide into chaos. Half your time is spent extracting resources, half screaming as threats emerge. Panic hits when you illuminate something unexpected and you're surrounded by teeth in darkness. This is a perfect balance of destruction and cooperation. Classes create the teamwork. You got someone who causes damage by accidentally setting everyone on fire, and another is always distant and dying. Traversal tools feel great navigating caverns until ammo's gone and the extraction pod's leaving, but it's part of the charm. It's loud, messy, and shouting catchphrases actually improves performance. 10 minutes in, you're probably dead with just basic attacks. The clock is a constant weight on your shoulders, making the enemies tougher with time. You start off fragile at first, but overpower everyone later with all the missiles and lightning bolts firing at once. Linger too long, and difficulty hits levels where everything can now kill you in a single hit. The clock constantly pressures you. Character variety keeps it from getting old with different combat styles. It's mechanically solid, but items can create chaos. Stacking identical buffs turns weak attacks into overwhelming damage. Some items seem worthless until you stack them and break everything. It's loud, visually overwhelming, and unapologetic about ending hour-long runs in an instant. Your mom hears divine orders to sacrifice you, so you flee to the basement. This is the game that defined the modern roguelike obsession, and it's still just as punishing as ever. The loop is built on hundreds of items that create god-tier builds or complete disasters. You're constantly dodging threats in filthy rooms while praying pickups don't spawn more enemies. The sheer volume of secrets keep players returning. You think you've seen everything, then you discover hidden paths to new areas. It's got this unapologetically dark sketchbook aesthetic that manages to be disturbing and kinda cute at the same time. Every run tests how much trauma one child endures. It's dense, it's frustratingly random, and it's one of the only games where getting a dead cat is actually a stroke of good luck. No aiming here. It's a deceptively simple loop where the game handles combat while you navigate hordes. The screen becomes vibrating chaos of flashing lights and damage numbers where you can't even see your character. Pickups upgrade weapons into screen-clearing destruction. Getting away with something keeps you hooked. You start off fragile and end up unstoppable, melting thousands of enemies by standing still. It's got this retro aesthetic that feels like an old arcade cabinet on a caffeine bender. A running joke lingered about how the real final boss is actually your own computer's hardware trying to keep up with the particle effects. It's cheap, it looks basic, and it's a digital slot machine where the only currency is your own survival. But that's all for today. I want to hear from you. Is there a title I completely missed? Drop a comment below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and consider subscribing for more. We really appreciate you watching. Take care.